But eventually, I met somebody, fell in love, got married, had 2 beautiful children. New upgrade, 3.6. Hey, maybe there's something in life for me after all. Sounds like a pretty good upgrade to me. But unfortunately, it wasn't a very stable upgrade. On December 19th, my daughter was diagnosed with cancer. And I had to put in a new operating system. But it's something I learned from her. Life is what you make of it. Operating system 4.0. Life is what you make out of it. You see, from that time for 3 years, cancer was part of our conversation. Every day was either hospital visits, blood tests, MRIs, x-rays, transfusions, you name it. But she never allowed that to dictate who she was. The circumstances of her life was not who she was. It's what she could do that made the difference to her. And she did every second of her life to the fullest was what she could do. Eventually, she had to have her leg amputated because of the cancer. And she had great doctors, and she was as stubborn as I am, actually. And her doctor said, you know, you'll probably never be able to ride your bike again or roller skate. We'll see. So one cold Saturday morning, we're in the cul-de-sac. I got my hand on the back of the seat, and one hand on the handlebars, and she's out there with her bike and her attitude and her new leg. And I'm holding her up, and eventually as we start walking and she starts pedaling a little bit, and I'm holding her up, and then she starts riding, and I'm running, and I'm holding the seat, and eventually I let go. And my little angel is flying again. She's free. The wind in her face. Back to being free and alive, and I could hear the joy in her voice. And I'm the proud dad. That's just the wind in my eyes, you know. It's like bicycle was one thing. Roller skates was another, and that was a short-lived adventure. She tried it a few times, and she'd get out with her skates, but her leg kept falling off. And not many of us have that experience in our life when we're roller skating and our leg falls off. But was that a problem? Not in the least. Because she didn't have any time to waste in her life feeling sorry for herself about the things that she couldn't do. Her life was about how can I live every moment to the fullest right here and right now. Circumstances of our lives don't define who we are. It's our actions and it's our attitudes and it's our determination that determines who we are, not circumstances. Well, on September 11th of all days, she passed away. But that's a story that fell at a later date. But her legacy continues. The upgrade was, what can you do with what you got? Well, we got on the best we could, and a little while later, upgrade 5.0 came along. You never know. I used to work for a university, and I was in charge of all the musical instruments. And there was a young man came in my office on the winter break, and the campus was very quiet. All of the students were gone. Most of the professors were gone. And he came in because the administration building said, come over here for advisement. But I wasn't the advisor, so I didn't know. I made some phone calls to help him out, and he was very hostile. And you could just see he had a kind of a harsh life. And I made him a cup of coffee and sat down and talked to him while we found out where he really needed to go. And he played saxophone, so I said, leave your saxophone here while you go see the dean. He happened to be in, and he'll give you the advisement you need, and then come back and we'll see where we go from there. Well, I came to understand that people's musical instruments were really a metaphor for their lives. And some people always kept their stuff nice and clean and tidy, and other people's was clutter, clutter, clutter. Or clutter. That's interesting. And his horn was a mess. There wasn't anything about it that worked right. He came from the neighborhood, from the hood, and he was a pretty angry young man. And I worked on his horn for 3 hours while he was gone. And I got it to play all right. Gave it back to him, and he said, how much do I owe you? Nothing. He was blown away by that. I mean, nobody had ever given him something for nothing before. And so he adopted me while he was at university. And it was a real struggle for him. He didn't really fit in real well with university life. And he would come to my office every once in a while and peek in. And if there were people in there, he'd just go, yo, bro, and then walk away. But if I was alone, he'd come in and we'd talk. And I would just talk about my life, my daughter, about whatever's going on with me. Nothing important. And as it happens, he didn't come in anymore, and I found out that he'd left school. And it happens, it wasn't a great fit. And about a year later, he comes rushing into my office. He goes, bro, I just got back to school. You were the first one I had to come and see. Great, glad to see you. You see, when I was here before, I was an alcoholic and a drug user, and I was HIV, and I had a full-blown AIDS episode. And I was in the hospital, and the doctor said I was going to die. And I just kept remembering what he told me. And that got me through it. Now I was blown away. Whoa, what did I tell him that was so important? What words of wisdom did I say that would get somebody through dying from AIDS? To this day, I have no idea what the words were. But you never know. You never know how you affect others. And it's not the words that you say that are important. That's what I've discovered. It's not the words at all. It's how you are inside, how you're showing up. It's sharing your heart with someone without expectation, without making them right or wrong. So, how are you showing up in life? Are you sharing yourself with others? Well, I said earlier, this is going to be a little interactive, so turn to the person next to you and say, you make a difference. Go ahead. You make a difference. You make a difference. Now this one might be a little more difficult. Now you're going to turn to them and say, I make a difference.
I make a difference.
Absolutely. That might be, for some people that was a little harder. And now, we make a difference. We make a difference. So, after all of these experiences, my upgrades started coming fast and furious, and I began to think, wow, does life use me or do I use life? Back 1.0, life is hard and then you die. Well, maybe the best is yet to come. The circumstances of my life don't define who I am. I define who I am. Does life use me? That's a victim point of view. I'm a victim of my circumstances. Or I use life, and that's ownership of my life. I own my life. Does life use me, or do I use life? Upgrade 6.0, life is my own. My life is mine. So today, well, I have to, 6.1, I got to show up as something. And I've learned that I get to choose how I'm going to be. So if I'm going to choose something, well, I could be okay. I could be good. I'm fine. How many of you used that one? How are you doing today? Oh, I'm fine. Fine doesn't mean anything. I'm nothing if I'm fine. So today, I choose to be magnificent. I'm magnificent. Thank you very much. And so are you.